Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt, on the radio, on podcasts, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and on talklawradio.com. Today I've been talking about the requirement for corporations to have shareholder meetings. Also been talking about the 2024 Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meeting in Omaha, where I participated last week. And now we're going to be talking about legacy.
And now it's time for the Talk Law Radio Legacy Spotlight. What's your legacy? Sponsored by Marquardt Law Firm.
So during this shareholders meeting, I was listening to investors ask questions, and Glenda Frazier from Westport, Connecticut asked, "Dear Mr. Buffett, in the past you have specified that 90% of your wife's inheritance will be invested in low-cost S&P 500 index fund and 10% in government bonds." And her question was whether the weighting of that investment was going to turn out to be good for her. And basically, he said this.
I will tell you that I revise my will about every 3 years or so, and I get little thoughts from time to time, and then you don't change it every time you do it.
Okay, so that's Mr. Buffett telling us that every 3 years he'll revise his will when he gets little thoughts from time to time. So what struck me as an estate planning attorney is just that he just lost his best friend and business partner, and he's thinking about his legacy, taking care of his wife, and he also mentioned 99% of his net worth is going to go to philanthropy, and his children are going to be in charge of that. He also said that he was going to give her more money than she will ever spend, and at the same time give her as much peace of mind as possible. So there's a lot of lessons here that he's teaching just by answering this question about whether her investments are going to be performing well enough. And so the first one is, the first lesson that I gathered from this was that you should revise or review your will, estate plan, or living trust every few years. And everybody has different reasons for changing it. I tell people, well, the reason you would change it is because things have changed. It seems obvious, but oftentimes in our lives when things change, we don't think about what's going to happen after we die. Now, of course, I think about that every day for myself because I meet with people every day who are talking about what's going to happen after they die. But you likely don't think about this very much. So here are some tips when changes might need to be made. If you get remarried, if you get divorced, if somebody in your family passes away, they might be serving as your executor, your power of attorney, your medical power of attorney. If medical technology advances, you might change your mind about how you want to be taken care of when you become older, or when you become sick, or when you begin having disabilities. You might change your mind. You might change your will when things change to the people in your family. If your beneficiaries or your children get married or divorced, if they have children, if they have disabilities, you might want to provide more assets or property for their care and support. Or if you have grandchildren, some grandparents want to give money to their grandchildren, even if it's a small amount, just to let them know that I loved you and I remembered you. So these are just a handful of things that sometimes people say the reasons that they're making a change will tell me. Another lesson is that it's a good idea to have something in mind about how you want these assets to be used or managed. Now, he doesn't plan on his wife ever running out of money. He's got so many billions of dollars that even if it were put into a savings account would generate enough interest to pay for all of her needs. But if you have less, to me, every dollar is more important, because if it's lost, then you have much more less to live on. And so you want to be a more careful steward of how those assets are managed. I probably wouldn't encourage you to dictate how the assets should be invested, because the economy changes. As we've seen over the past 20 years, things change rather rapidly. What I suggest instead is just put somebody you trust in charge of deciding how to manage those investments so that they're being a good steward of those resources, making sure that the assets are growing, make sure that the assets are not being lost. Another lesson is in giving his wife peace of mind. Yes, you want them to be taken care of, but I don't know, Dave Ramsey said one time that there's an imaginary organ within a spouse that if that spouse does not have enough assets to pay all of the bills, the organ gets agitated and they become grumpy. And so you want to make sure that you have enough saved up for a rainy day so that person doesn't get grumpy. That's the reverse of peace of mind. We still have some time if you want to call and talk to me about shareholder meetings, corporations, Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, or Charlie Munger. Just call 210-308-8867, 210-308-8867. Talk to me for a minute about your opinion on Berkshire Hathaway, or maybe you have a question about succession planning. I wanted to talk about that because, this book is Charlie Munger's legacy. I'm sure he has lots of facets to his legacy, but this book is certainly part of it. A book is a good way for you to leave a legacy, for you to write down what all your hopes and dreams and fears and feelings were about all sorts of things, events, people. Think of that movie, Forrest Gump. Now, he's a fictional person, but all the stuff that he went through, think about all the things that you've went through, that you've gone through, your family, your work, what you find important in the world. Write it down. It doesn't have to be in a published book. Write it down on a notebook paper or a napkin and slip it in there with your last will or living trust and estate plan. Also part of the legacy is what's going to happen after Warren Buffett passes away. Well, you'll see on the news and on YouTube that Greg Abel is been named by Warren Buffett to be his successor, CEO. Right now he's managing the non-insurance operations, and Ajit Jain is running the insurance operations. And so my brother was wondering aloud, where is the shareholder meeting going to be held if Warren Buffett passes away? Because it's really in Omaha because of Warren Buffett. So if he's gone, they could move it to Iowa or Connecticut or New York or anywhere, really. Oh, something interesting about legacy, Charlie Munger's will. I don't have a copy of it. Have to file a public records request in order to get that, and it takes time for that. But I did find out that his will was filed for probate. So that's a public proceeding. There's going to be public documents that even me, as somebody that's not related to him, can get a copy of. And so there's other ways to structure your estate plan so that it's not in the public record. Because he had a will gets probated, and probate is a public proceeding and it has public records. There's other things that you can do. Just call Marquardt Law Firm or go to marquardtlawfirm.com to learn more about that. That's M as in mother, ARQUAR, D as in David, T as in Timothy, lawfirm.com. There's all kinds of blog articles. There's all kinds of videos that you can watch and listen to there about interesting ways of structuring your estate plan. But the best thing you can do is hire an attorney to give you legal advice that's tailored to your specific situation. Lastly, I wanted to talk about succession planning, because we're talking about corporations, businesses, and shareholder meetings. And what I learned was during the shareholder meeting, Ajit Jain was asked about what's going to happen with the insurance business after he's gone, because Warren Buffett always described him as a prodigy. No one's as smart as Ajit Jain about structuring this insurance business. And the way he answered it was this. He said, every year I sit in front of the board to answer questions about what would happen if I were hit by a truck. That's succession planning. That's what all of us should do at our work. Even if we're just an employee, we should have our employee handbook written out so that all of our job functions are described in specificity such that anybody could pick that up and do my job. And I have a succession plan. I have a law partner, Daniel Palmer at the law firm, who would take over if I were hit by a truck, God forbid. And if I were to be missing from my family, well, my wife and some other family members, they would take care of some of the things that I take care of. And, well, my wife would do the parenting and somebody else would manage the money. And those are all important things for us to do as responsible family members to our family. We do it because we love them. We do it because we want to leave a legacy of peace of mind. Thank you for spending some time with me this morning, and look forward to talking with you again next time. Talk to you later.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law Radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the 10 Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.